Hello, and welcome to the Thyroid Warrior podcast. I'm Ebony, and I'm here as your wellness facilitator. I'm going to be sharing my experiences in managing Hashimoto's disease, and I really hope that it'll help you on your personal journey. Keep in mind, however, this does not substitute as medical advice. It is only for your information and motivational purposes only. Now, let's get started. Hello, friends. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to this week's episode. And we're going to continue the conversation on awareness. And you may be wondering, why are you focusing so much on this? And one thing for sure is that it is so important for us to really and truly recognize and come to an understanding and awareness of who we are and how we are feeling, because there is just so much going on right now in this very moment from a world perspective. Our bodies are incredibly dysregulated. Our nervous systems are shot. We're burned out. We're tired. We're cranky. We may not feel well. And it's just in these moments, I have learned that I have to get rooted and grounded so that I can be able to take care of myself. And that is why we are really and truly working on this series and talking through what all of this means in terms of our thyroid health, because this podcast, yes, it is about thyroid health, but I want to give you lifestyle tips and tricks as well. And I'm learning that as I've evolved over the years, it's really important to be able to share that with you, because I don't want you to be stuck. So with that being said, we are going to talk about how do we work on awareness? How do we pay attention to that, so to speak? And we're going to have a conversation about this process, obviously over time. And I want to make sure that these episodes are very short and sweet, because I actually want you to do the work. So I want you to get quiet, and I want you to really and truly just try to sit still. And even if you can't do this while you're listening, I want you to do it at a later time, even if you're in the bathroom, because sometimes that's the only time that we have to ourselves. So I want you to do these exercises over the course of the following weeks. And the first thing is, how do you learn how to quiet your mind enough to focus on, where am I? How are you feeling emotionally? When's the last time you cried? When was the last time that you laughed? And it was a real laugh. I'm talking about from the depths of your tummy and just let out a laugh. When were you angry or upset or frustrated? I want you to get in touch with your emotions, because for so many of us, we literally shut that side of ourselves off. And it's because you have to, for survival, right? You have to be able to put your emotions and feelings aside so that you could just push through and be done with it. But I'm learning that in the process of me doing that my entire life, my body has held on to all of that. And in the moments when I find that I'm getting stressed out, all of the ways that my body has coped with those emotions over time present themselves, and I end up in bed for a day, which was the case last weekend. And the reason why I'm suggesting this, and obviously if processing through your emotions on your own is something that you're not able to do, and you would prefer to do that with your therapist and kind of talk through that, absolutely go for it. I never want you to be in a situation where you're putting yourself in harm's way. So I want to make sure I put that disclaimer out there. But when you take that time after thinking about when's the last time you actually experienced your emotions, how long did those things last? Because what I am learning is that our emotions are fleeting. They happen very quickly. But over time, because we've built up and pinned in these emotions and we haven't let them out, our bodies and our minds can't really release them. So I want to challenge you to write these things down, or say them in a voice memo, or find a really trusted friend that you can talk through a lot of this with, or your therapist or counselor or whomever you actively work with to resolve these things if you are doing that. But even as I'm talking about it, I feel my body starting to relax. One, because I know that I'm among friends and I can talk candidly about many of the things that I'm going through personally with you, and that makes me happy. So one of the things that I did last week was I started writing down all these things, and I'm like, I'm frustrated. I'm tired. I'm trying to do the absolute best that I can, but work is stressful. I'm trying to be a good role model for my team, but I don't want to take out the humanity of who I am and what I'm going through because that's fake to me. Even from a social media perspective, you guys know, if you follow me at Joyful Ebony, you know that there are pockets of when I share things, but I've had questions of people to ask me about talking about things a little bit more in depth. And to be honest, this podcast is where I bring a lot of those very personal things. So thank you for being a part of that. And as I was writing these things down, I felt a release. And I recognized that I tend to store a lot of my anger and frustration in my jaw. My stomach gets upset, and my shoulders and my neck are absolutely tight and locked up in this very moment. And I recognize that I have to do something about it. And the thing is you don't always have to know what to do. The simple acknowledgement of this is what's going on is really, really good, because when you start interacting with people and things that cause your body to react in that way, you can learn over time how to identify what those things are and walk away from them. And I did a live on my Instagram about stress management. And one thing that I have had to work through is when I think about that question about not having children, one, I'm not really sure what this obsession is about, the value or emphasis that we put on the need for women to have children or be married or be surrounded by so many people from a social perspective. But I have to honor how I feel about that and what comes up for me. And if I'm happy, let's say not having children, that's my decision. And it's no one else's place to push me into feeling that I should or shouldn't do something. And, or in our case, when we're talking about thyroid health, when you're going to the doctor or you're interacting with a family member and they're like, well, I don't understand why you still don't feel good. You should be able to do this, or you should be full of energy. You're only insert age, or if you're young or if you're older, well, that makes sense because you've gotten older, you've had children, the kids are running around. And we don't think about how we make people feel when we say things like that, because it's very dismissive and it's hurtful, and it challenges the self-worth, the progression that people have made, because we don't know what people are going through. We just don't. And I have worked very hard on being mindful of how I approach people and how I ask questions, so that I am not coming across as being that person that is insensitive to their experience, because I don't know their lived experience. I'm not them. I haven't been in their bodies, so I don't know. But that is another reason why writing all of this down is so helpful, because when you see those words on the paper and they're staring back at you, you can begin to recognize all of the ways that you feel, all of the emotions that you feel, I should say, and what are some of those common words and phrases that people say to you that don't make you feel good. And that can bring you self-awareness enough to know that if I say this inadvertently to someone else, am I projecting what's been done to me? And for me, that is how I have been working on becoming more self-aware, and also making sure that I am quote unquote holding space or being present for the people that I love around me, so that I'm not passing judgment or sharing how I would respond in those circumstances where someone is venting or sharing something very personal and deep to me. So I wanted to give you the starting point in terms of how do we become more aware of our feelings and emotions, and how can we apply that awareness to those around us that we really love and care about. So I want you to write down what you're feeling and how you feel over the next week, and pay attention to how your body feels. Pay attention to the tension that's arising. Pay attention to what's going on in your body. And even when you're having conversations with people, acknowledge and pay attention to how you're feeling in that moment, because it can also give you the tools that you need to determine, do I really want to be around this person? What topics or phrases are triggering for me? And how do I work through being able to articulate what I need from others around me? And how can I then reciprocate that for other people? So think through that. Do some exercises. Tag me at Joyful Ebony if you decide to complete this exercise, so that I can celebrate with you. And with that, be happy, be whole, and be well. Take care. Okay, thyroid warriors, get out there and take things one step at a time. Remember, reflect on your triumphs, know that you are doing your best, and do what you need to do in order to be well. I would absolutely love it if you subscribe to this podcast and share this episode with a friend. And don't forget, leave me a review. I read those and try very hard to improve the show based upon your feedback. So I'd love to hear from you. And with that, be happy, be whole, and be well. Take care.